Something unprecedented is happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And most Americans have no idea. For 200 years, every president who entered the White House respected one unwritten rule. You don't destroy its history, you preserve it. Even during the biggest renovation in history, Harry Truman gutted the interior, but kept every historic wall standing. That rule was broken in October 2025. Under cover of minimal media coverage, construction crews surrounded an entire wing of the White House. Workers were forced to sign non-disclosure agreements, media questions were forbidden, and within days, over a century of American history was reduced to rubble. No congressional approval, no preservation review, no public debate, just demolition orders from Donald Trump. In its place, a $400 million ballroom funded by anonymous private donors. But that's just the beginning. Gold fixtures are replacing historic decor. The Rose Garden looks like Mar-a-Lago. Joe Biden's portrait has been erased from presidential history. What's really happening inside America's most sacred building? The answers will shock you. Those answers start with understanding what the White House represented for 200 years. Every American president who lived at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue followed the same unwritten rule: respect the building's history. JFK redesigned the Rose Garden in 1962. Nixon converted the swimming pool into the press briefing room. Obama added a basketball court. But these were small changes done with proper approvals and historical respect. Even Harry Truman's massive 1948 renovation, when the entire interior was gutted and rebuilt to prevent collapse, preserved the historic walls and footprint. From outside, it looked identical. For 200 years, the principle held: presidents could change the inside, but the structure and historic identity were sacred. Until October 2025, when that 200-year tradition was shattered, it happened with shocking speed. The East Wing, America's public entrance to the White House for over a century, housed the First Lady's office and the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, where presidents shelter during national crises. In October 2025, Trump ordered it completely demolished, not renovated, not updated, torn down. Construction crews worked behind barriers while media watched helplessly from fences. Workers were banned from answering questions. Many signed non-disclosure agreements. The most protected building in America was being destroyed in secret. Here's the shocking part. The demolition began 6 months before the replacement project was even legally approved. The National Trust for Historic Preservation filed a lawsuit claiming federal laws were violated. In its place, Trump is planning the largest addition to the White House in modern history. That largest addition is a $400 million ballroom spanning 90,000 square feet. To put that in perspective, the entire executive residence where the president lives is only 55,000 square feet. Trump's ballroom would be bigger than the president's home. The design features grand chandeliers, high ceilings, and ornate details meant to match the White House architecture. It would hold 650 guests for dinner, compared to the East Room's limit of 200 people. Trump argues the White House needs this because major diplomatic events currently happen in temporary tents on the lawn. Presidents have used tents for decades, but Trump calls this embarrassing. Here's where it gets controversial. The $400 million price tag makes this one of the most expensive additions in White House history. But the administration claims taxpayers won't pay a single cent. Instead, the money comes from private donors. And that raises serious questions about corruption. Those serious questions center on a dangerous precedent. The $400 million comes from private donors, not taxpayers. That sounds responsible until you ask the obvious question: what do these wealthy donors get in return? Access to the president? Influence over policy? Favorable decisions on their businesses? The pattern is clear. Trump's corporate donors have consistently benefited from his administration's decisions in crypto, fossil fuels, and defense contracting. Private funding creates a direct link between donations and proximity to presidential power. If taxpayer money funded this, Congress would demand accountability. Private donations bypass that oversight entirely. The public may never know who paid, how much, or what they were promised. The ballroom isn't just a building, it's a fundraising mechanism built into the presidency itself. And now the legal system is deciding whether any of this is actually legal. Whether it's actually legal depends on courts still trying to unravel a chaotic timeline. October 2025, East Wing demolished. December 2025, Historic Preservation Group sue. February 2026, Commission of Fine Arts approves the project, but every member was Trump appointed after he fired the previous commission. March 31, 2026, a federal judge orders construction halted, ruling the project likely cannot proceed without congressional approval. Trump immediately appeals. April 2, 2026. The National Capital Planning Commission votes to approve the design, but construction remains blocked. The legal picture is messy and evolving, but the core question is simple. Can a president demolish a historic building, replace it with a $400 million privately funded addition, and bypass approval processes designed to prevent exactly this? The courts are still deciding. The rubble is already cleared. While the ballroom sits in legal limbo, the White House is changing in ways that don't require court approval. Those changes started with the Rose Garden, one of America's most photographed political spaces. JFK designed the layout. Every president since has used it for press conferences and world leader meetings. Trump paved over the main grass section, creating a patio-style terrace with umbrella-covered tables. The visual resemblance to Trump's private Mar-a-Lago club is striking. Critics argue this represents the blurring of lines between public institution and private brand. That final question is about 200 years of American tradition versus 1 year of rapid transformation. For 2 centuries, White House changes were reviewed, approved, and designed to preserve the building's role as a symbol of the nation, not any individual president. What's happening now is fundamentally different. Legal battles are ongoing. Courts have temporarily halted ballroom construction, but the East Wing is already gone. The Rose Garden is already paved. The portrait is already missing. All of this in just the first year of Trump's second term, with 3 years remaining. The question isn't whether a president can change the White House. It's whether one president should reshape America's most historic building according to his personal taste. The building that's supposed to belong to every American is starting to look like it belongs to one. The $400 million ballroom isn't isolated. It's systematic transformation. Demolition, private funding, paved gardens, missing portraits, triumphal arches, cage fights, all in 1 year of a 4-year term. For 200 years, the White House belonged to all Americans. Now it's being reshaped by one president who doesn't believe the building is big enough for him. From 200 years of careful preservation to 1 year of radical transformation. Subscribe for more. What surprised you most? The $400 million ballroom or UFC on the White House lawn?